Brand designers are constantly juggling brand expression at scale, driving consistency for the overarching brand while adapting it across different product lines, sub-brands, and campaigns. My name is Mallory. I'm a designer advocate at Figma, and today we are going to explore variables and how they can be powerful for brand design. We are going to look at what they are, how to create and apply them, and explore different use cases for them in your work. At a high level, variables are reusable, named values, like colors or numbers that you can apply throughout your entire design system and even use in prototyping. Think of them as your brand's core ingredients. Instead of sprinkling raw hex codes everywhere or manually setting your type settings, you assign those values to a variable and from then on reference that value instead. You might be thinking that sounds a lot like styles. Styles also drive great consistency in your work, but variables allow designs to change based on context. You can switch between different definitions, like different colors, spacing, type values, and your entire design updates. We'll dive deeper into this later, but for now, let's explore why these can be powerful for your brand work and why they matter for brand design. You may have seen product teams use variables already, but they are just as powerful for brand design. Here's why. Consistency at scale. Variables eliminate micro inconsistencies across files. They also help you manage multi-brand systems, product-specific palettes, and seasonal variations without duplicating files. Faster brand exploration. Want to test a moodier palette? Try out a new type ramp? Variables lets you explore it quickly by adding a new variable mode or extending a collection. And future-proofing your brand. Rebrands, accessibility updates, product expansions happen all the time. And with variables, this makes this process a lot less painful. Let's look at different types of variables available for you. There are 4 types of variables that you can define. The first being color variables. Color is foundational to your brand identity. Color variables lets you define neutrals, primaries, and accents, and then alias or swap these values based on the different product lines or campaigns that you're working on. We also have numeric variables. These control spacing, grid, scale, stroke weights, even radius, and anything pretty much numeric in your system. And then we have string variables. String variables store reusable text for things like product names, descriptions, disclaimers. These are great for multilingual or multi-regional brand systems. Boolean variables help you toggle visibility within your design. You can use them to toggle specific layers on or off. Think partner logos, badges, icons, regional elements, anything that would be flexible within your layout. So you may be wondering, how do I actually create these variables? Variables are accessible in the left side panel. Opening the variables icon reveals a table. This is your variables panel where you can create, rename, and define your variables. Clicking the plus icon in the bottom left corner allows you to choose the variable you would like to create and then define that value. Let's go over the overall organization of the variables panel. At the top level, we have collections, a high-level container for different sets of variables. And within a collection, you can organize your variables into groups to keep things organized and predictable for your team. Next, we have modes. Modes define different states of the same variable. For example, a lot of teams use modes for light and dark themes, localizing copy, or spacing changes for different layout. And finally, we have extended collections. Extended collections lets you override specific variables for different scenarios, maybe like a seasonal campaign, and still allow you to inherit everything else from the base collection. This really keeps your brand work and your design system lean without managing or duplicating different collections and multiple files. You can also combine variables and bring them into a style definition. Variables currently only hold a single value, and sometimes you need to control a group of variables all at once, like a typography system. To do this, you will define all of your primitive variables in the variables panel and then feed those into a style definition. Why do we do this? Because this lets you keep one heading style but dynamically change its underlying values. Since variables can't store multiple values, styles act as the grouping mechanism. Now let's actually apply these variables. Let's look at how to bind them to your designs. Binding tells Figma, use this variable instead of a raw value. For a color example, select your layer, head to the fill in the right side panel, open the library and search for your variable. Variables come through as square icons, while styles are circle icons. You'll know something is bound as it will appear in a white container around the value, and if you hover over the value, it should show the variable. For numeric variables, it's a very similar process. Hover over a numeric field like a corner radius, and then the variable icon appears. From here, you can search the variable you want to apply and bind it. Booleans are a little bit different. These are bound within the appearance section. Hover or right-click the eye icon to bind it. I've gone ahead and applied the rest of my variables. Now let's see mode switching in action. Select your design that you would like to swap the modes for. Head to the Appearance panel and find the Apply Variable Modes icon. Pick the mode and watch your design update instantly. I don't need to do any manual restyling or swapping hex codes. I can use variable modes to visualize this exactly on the canvas. There are endless creative opportunities for how to actually use variables in your designs. Let's go over some common use cases. Using variables to offer different colorways for your designs and specifically for your illustration system. You can also use numeric variables to adjust the roundedness of different shapes in your elements. While variables aren't designed for large data sets, they're perfect for reusable content. For example, if you're working with a global team, you could store region-specific text like product names, taglines, regulatory copy, date formats, currency formats, all inside your string variables. And don't forget, variables are also accessible in Figma Buzz. Maybe you are creating different templates for your marketers to use. They can actually apply modes within Figma Buzz in your branded templates, and then be able to swap between different modes and update their designs while keeping everything on brand. All right, we've covered a lot. What variables are, how collection modes and groups work, how to bind them, and how they can transform the way brand designers scale their work in Figma. Before you go, here are a few tips for getting started. 1. Start small. Integrate color variables into 1 or 2 projects, learn how they work, learn what doesn't work for you, and then adjust and roll out more broadly. 2. Sync with your product teams. They may already be using variables and have insights to share with you on naming conventions, mode structure, and best practices. There may also be opportunities for cross-functional alignment. And last, educate your teams. Designers should learn to bind variables, and collaborators should know how to switch between the modes and collections. Without proper onboarding, your investments into variables are not going to stick. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this helpful and feel inspired to start exploring variables and how your brand team can incorporate them into your work. For more information and tips, check out the Figma Help Center and Figma YouTube channel, and I'll see you next time.